They are still trying to cover up the bloodstains, bisabuela. They are stomping the ground, hoping the dust clouds will cover up their disdain, attempting to drown chocolate skin in goat's milk, blaming dark flecks on Spanish that's not good. They are still trying to cover up the bloodstains, bisabuela. They are stomping the ground, hoping that the dust clouds will cover up their disdain, attempting to drown chocolate skin in goat's milk, blaming dark flecks on Spanish pixie dust, swallowing melanin as if their excretions are the only brown they know. They'd rather expel you, discount your struggle because they don't know you very well. It's hard to see the Congo in green eyes unless you fell the trees. You felt the forest call your name. Sweet to your ear like the coquille accompanied lullabies your toa sang. Now they think that you can be called by a cacophony of syllables with no soul attached, and I don't see why I feel the need to save you from these savages' attacks. You taught us to be more civilized than that. But I was told that your grandchildren watched them pull your still moving arms from the teeth of those hounds, and I can't allow them to pretend that your body was never found, no matter how many pieces they left you in. Will not allow them to discount your story again. I mean, surely this could be sweeter. I'm sure that the images of my lily-white ancestors and blonde green-eyed cousins would paint a prettier picture. Would much rather trace my last name to the southwest of Spain, but I know my Moorish culture and there is so much more to offer. My bisabuela warrior runs circles around that lineage. I'd rather sever them like they did her calves from her thighs. I could easily discount my dark side by claiming light skin and good hair, but I was told that they scalped you. That they brought back tokens to El Jefe who wept because he'd have to tell the children you both shared. Who would have thought that love for him didn't exist, that all of that was never there, that you would choose death over captivity and the anguish of watching children being sold by others were set free because their resemblance was uncanny. There was no Afro-Taino in their skin. Who would have thought that they wouldn't claim you as kin, that they'd rather have a turn with a whip than admit that you were their roots? Funny how loud they cry when they fall so easily, when crawling on all fours to the patriarch's door and are told that they aren't welcome there anymore. How they long for the cinnamon of your breast to ease the pain of their chest, but the dogs ate that, so they walk around empty. Mere shells of the greatness that once flowed through your veins, bisabuela. I will not let you die in vain, negra. Your dark skin exuded a light so pure they could only hope to emulate it by staying indoors in the cool darkness they were annexed to, but that's nothing new. They only claim you when they want to, when it's cool or when it's cute, like puppy dogs with taste for Afro-Taino blood. They are still trying to cover up the bloodstains, bisabuela. They are stomping the crowd, hoping that the dust clouds will cover up their disdain. They thought that they had whitewashed you and bleached you in the sun, but they were wrong. Your stain had set too deep to wring out, so when they least expected it, La Mancha came out. Wonder what my blonde, green-eyed grandmother, great-granddaughter of the plantation owner, first thought when she saw me. Bisabuela, nieta de mi bisabuela guerrera, blood flows through me. Confirmation of the stories of which her grandparents used to speak, of Afro-Taino women that would risk their lives to be set free. They're still trying to cover up the bloodstains, bisabuela, attempting to drown your body on their way to receive the master's blessings. But I won't let them kill you again. I keep you safe here in my lungs, expel you only briefly to blow the dust away, so that they can never again try to cover up your bloodstains.
Oh my goodness. Hi. Hi. That was beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, so the poet True.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me here on Communication Corner. That was tremendous.
Thank you.
Bloodstains.
Yes.
The first poem.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, that is actually based on a true story. That is the story of my great-great-grandmother on
the blonde hair and the green eyes.
Her great-great-grandmother was actually a Taino African slave in Puerto Rico.
Really?
Yes, who was actually killed by the dogs trying to escape from the plantation.
Amazing story.
Yes.
And so then it translated into bloodstains.
Yes, it did. My father actually confided the story in me. And I was so surprised because I had never even knew that that bloodline existed on my father's side of the family.
He kept it a secret.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say he kept it a secret. I think he never had the opportunity to actually share it.
Do you think it was the opportunity, or that he just didn't want to share that part of him?
No, I think that it was definitely the opportunity. I think he's always spoken about, you know, having dark-skinned family, but I was just so happened to do research for a show that I was doing, and we were talking about slavery in Puerto Rico, and he was like, oh, well, you know, your great-great-great-grandmother died trying to escape the plantation. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, wow, really? And he told me the story. I was like, I get it now. I understand.
Let's take a few steps back for our viewers. Puerto Rico, obviously Puerto Rican?
Yes, obviously.
Your parents are both Puerto Rican?
Yes, both of my parents are Puerto Rican. My father born on the island, my mother Nuyorican by birth.
I love it. Where did your mom grow up?
My mother grew up here in New York, but her family's from Cataño in Puerto Rico. My father was raised in Sabana Grande, Puerto Rico.
Sabana Grande, where is that?
That's on the west-south of the island.
And your mom's family is from?
It's from the northeast side of the island.
Oh, okay. And how did they meet here in the States?
They met here in New York. Well, my mother was a elementary school teacher, and my father was a security guard in the school.
Oh, keeping it all in the school system. So then they had you, poet.
Yes.
Did you grow up in an expressive family? And by expressive, I mean, were you guys into the arts? How did that all transpire? The whole Puerto Rican thing and poetry. How did they come together in your roots?
Well, my father was a musician as well.
So he was very, he was a lyricist.
Yes, he wrote, he played the guitar. He taught us to play different instruments. It never stuck, but he tried. And, but I always grew up writing and singing with him, so I would always see how he formulated his songs and all of that. And so I started writing when I was about 4 or 5 years old.
So you've been a poet since you were 4 or 5?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, with my little corny songs I would write in my notebook. They were cute.
And then that's when you were 4. How did poetry get you to where you are now? Performing?
Oh, wow. Well, I've written all my life. In high school, I was a bit rebellious.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Washington Irving High School, the Bulldogs. Yeah. And by the time my senior year came along, I had kind of like maxed out all my English courses. They refused to like let me out early, so they
because you were bad.
I was a bad kid. I was rebellious.
You were bad.
Rebellious. And so they enrolled me in a program at NYU. For poetry classes.
Because they wouldn't allow you to get out of school
at noon, because I would have been hanging out.
So they sent you to NYU. I love this. And what did you do as a senior in high school, taking college classes at NYU? What kind of classes?
Well, it was interesting. I had my professor. Her name was Rebecca, and she was actually amazing because she was able to incorporate like all the old dead white poets in hip hop. And before my show, my class, I would hang out in Washington Square Park, and there was a poet that would come on to perform, and his name was Reality. And it was like the first time I saw people like actually performing poetry, and I was like, this is kind of cool. And then so I would go to class, and I would write and do my little, speeches in class or whatever.
And they encouraged you?
Yes, I had a particular student who was like, you're really good. You should go to the Brooklyn Moon Cafe and do your poetry there. And I was like, no.
And the Brooklyn Moon Cafe, that was a place in Brooklyn where they did spoken word? They did
spoken word every Friday, and it was like one of the most insane places.
And to remind everybody, you're all of 17 now?
Yes,
you're
I
a high
was
school
17.
Senior. Right.
I was 17, but I was grown in my own mind.
So, as we all were, 17, right, True?
But it took a while. It took me about 6 months before I managed to get to the Brooklyn Moon. And then, and even then, I called my aunt. And I told my aunt, like, look, I'm going to go to a poetry venue, you should come. And she got there before me. I was running late because, I was young, and who cares about time? So I got there late, and it was too late to sign up.
Okay, to sign up to do the spoken word.
Open mic, right. So I was like, okay, so I sat down. I didn't say anything to my aunt. I was just like, hey. And halfway through the show, the host goes, he goes, we really have to love and respect our elders because, they're always here to push us. The next person I'm going to bring to the mic, she didn't make it in time to sign up, but her aunt was here, and she made sure she put her name on the list. And I was sitting there like, no. Somebody else's aunt has to be here signing them up because I'm not going up there. And they called my name.
Surprise.
Surprise, like beyond surprise, like my stomach dropped to the floor. And I was just like, my aunt pushed me out of the seat, and I went up there with my little piece of paper, and the paper was shaking.
Oh my gosh.
It was so bad. I couldn't read off of the paper because it was shaking so bad that the words were blurry. But I did it.
All right. How did it feel?
It was actually so freeing. I think that especially as a teenager, you always want your voice heard, and
Right.
that was like my 5 minutes to say whatever I wanted, and everybody had to listen.
All ears on you.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it was very liberating, and I mean, I'm still here all these years later.
So then you performed and you got over your stage fright.
I did.
And since then, what have you been doing? You wrote a book?
I wrote my first book, Where Do I Begin, in 2006. It was a collection of poetry. And I've been performing since then. I'm a part of All Latino Collective called El Grito de Poetas. We're the only all Latino poetry troupe in New York City.
Where are they out of?
We are out of all 5 boroughs, so we're everywhere, and Long Island. And, you know, Puerto Rican, Colombian, Mexican, El Salvadorian, we represent the whole diaspora. And so I've been with them for the last 9 years.
Wow.
9 years. It's a marriage at this point. And I'm also started writing my own book.
Okay.
My second book called Climbing Ivy, which is a collection of poems and short stories about women and a woman's journey and overcoming obstacles and things of that sort.
Oh, awesome.
So those are the 2 things I'm doing with poetry right now.
It sounds great.
Yes.
Sounds like you're really just doing your thing.
I love it. I love it. And as much as sometimes I say, oh, I'm not going to do it anymore, I'm getting too old to you know, go to poetry venues and get on stage. It's a part of who I am, and I wouldn't know what else to do without it.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Would you do us another poem or 2?
Sure.
Okay, so next is The Bridge.
The Bridge.
Tell us about The Bridge.
So The Bridge is actually based on a true story again. Again, in my wild teenage years, I think that young women find themselves in positions that they don't quite imagine could go wrong.
Right.
And in this instance, I went out on a date with a certain fella, and it turned into something
ensued.
else.
Okay.
Yes, it turned into something else.
And so that's The Bridge, and the second poem in this will be Why I Write. That's a very intriguing title. Tell us about that.
Well, I think that I wrote that, I was kind of in limbo as far as poetry at that point, and I was really ready to take a big step back from the poetry scene. And a friend of mine was like, well, why do you write?
Oh.
And I was like, well, and then I started writing this poem. I was like, well, this is why. And I never really took that step back after I wrote the poem.
Why were you considering taking a step back?
Because I think that, especially when you're like in your 20s, you're trying to let go of all, you know, your childish things and that sort. And I was like, you know, well, poetry, you know, that's a hobby. You know,
it's not
I need
a real
to work.
job.
Yeah, I need to work. I need to focus on family and all of these things. And it was taking a lot of time, you know, and you feel like you're undervalued or unappreciated. And I was just like, I'm over it.
Right.
But I wasn't over it.
Yeah, the bug kind of reinfected you.
Right. I think that it's, especially when you grow up learning how to express yourself, to then say, well, I'm not going to do that anymore, it kind of makes you sick inside, you know? And it's like this thing that just, you have to get out. So I think even now, like...
You tried to close the door and it just kept opening.
Even now I say, oh, I'm not going to do it, and then someone calls like, hey, and I'm like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, and then I call and say, come.
Right, and so I'm here.
Do you think that growing up in a traditional family, and when I say traditional, I mean traditional values from another country, a lot of people who are first generation, whether you be Italian or Irish, you find that in traditional families like that, that your parents want you to have a skill. Like they want you to be an accountant or a nurse or a lawyer. And if you are more creative like you are, it doesn't go over very well with your family. Do you find that?
I didn't experience that in my family.
Because your dad was very
my father was,
expressive.
Yes, and then my mother was a teacher, so she understood the need for creativity.
Right.
And I was a bad kid, but I was also very intelligent. You know, I always passed my classes, even though I, you know, never followed the rules of the class. So I didn't really experience that. If anything, I think that my parents really pushed me to have a balance of both, you know, and it was like, you want to be an artist, that's fine, but what else are you going to do with that?
Okay.
You know, so I think that that's the most important value a parent can give a child, especially when they're dealing with the arts and wanting
Creative
to be
children,
creative,
right.
because it has to come out somehow, you know, so either you let them create in the privacy of their room and share it with you, or they're going to find something else to create elsewhere.
Absolutely.
And so,
My name is Nicole Bailey. I'm the founder and principal of the Learning Tree Multicultural School located in Corona, New York. Basically, the mission of our school is to nurture children, to teach them to be productive members of society, and to be able to compete with the world. We are really excited today because we're having these...
Gave it up, might as well make a nigga pay up, because a bitch that fucks for free is only a slut. Might as well do it now while your ass is high and titties stand up straight, because when shit hits the fan, your tits will be sagging and dudes won't want a date. I have a Lex in the driveway of my personal estate. My hours are shit, but my income is great. And daddy, he treats us like queens, so long as by dawn you have all his cream. To think that they were out of nothing, it was like 40 degrees, shit. I was fully clothed in the whip and still freezing. The dude came back and handed them Dutches and cups of tea, and that's all it took to get them to call him daddy. Anyway, we drove back around the corner and they got out. Y'all bitches better make some money, nigga called out. As for me, I sat as far back in my seat as I could, thinking in my head, man, I really wish he would. I'll call all my brothers and my dogs from the hood if this dude messes around and doesn't act as he should. Just then, a station wagon pulled up on the strip, and I saw that Dominican chick jump right in with an old man who looked like he lived out his trunk, and when he turned around, I could tell he was dirty and his face was all marked up. And I thought to myself, if worse comes to worse, could I do what they do? Could I sacrifice my pride in order to give my daughter food? My homeboy was like, what up, Mom? My response, man, fuck you. He was like, whatever, ma, fuck you too. You can't be mad at the shit that I do. I'm no worse than your weed man or the dude on the block doing hand-to-hand. See, I supply the people with what they want, and sex is always in demand, believe it or not. Look, I'm not trying to turn you out, just trying to show you a different route. It's easy so long as you're blazing from neck down. Don't know though, seems like you got a tight mouth, but I could help work that out. Oh, I see. Some nigga done spoiled you and got you thinking that what you have is unique. But all bitches got pussy, just different shades of pink. That's what I thought of what Shorty said before she had to go. When you're ready, call daddy and tell him you want to come home. Wise words spoken by a Queensbridge hoe, and I bet that she doesn't even know how I told him that I had to go. How he kinda got slapped because he wouldn't let me go. How I thank God for my papi being a real man for sure. Turns out that you reap what you sow. Cause big man got locked up for soliciting a 15-year-old. As for Shorty on the strip, she's gone too. Found in a dumpster, seems like she tried to give head to a 32. My people, we have to take care of our little girls. It's what makes all the difference between turning tricks or turning life into poems. So the next poem is Why I Write. See, the content of my poems makes people pause and salivate for more. I give the feeling of the SWAT team kicking down your apartment door like hands up. No, face down on floors, my words are more than just hardcore. Allow me to change your mind by inserting a line that'll alter your perception of life. See, I spit to set fires to the blocks, giving voices to welfare children in mom and pop shops. Life frozen by memory is regurgitated to the audience to make their story history. See, I spit for the streets. Not just that ghetto braggadocio nonsense, but the real thing. I take it back to the alleys and rooftops, back to chunky rope chains and shell tops, back to pixie sticks and blue blow pops, back to the Roger Rabbit and the WAP. See, I spit hip-hop. I give you the untold stories of those afraid to speak, abused by players, pimps, parents, and peers, rendering them weak. Those people you walk by and find pitiful in the streets. Single mothers attempting to stand on their own 2 feet. Teenage fathers praying to God they can sell just one last piece, and the drunk on the stoop arguing with the bottle at his feet. See, I spit for my hood. For all those who've been misunderstood. For those who don't see reality in revolution. For those who couldn't care less about the effects of pollution. For those who feel that love is just an illusion and have come to their own poetic conclusions that, man, life ain't shit. I spit the hood for them, so that they can understand that their struggle is as important as the next man's. That if you need your story told, grab a pen in your hand and confide in a mic stand. See, I don't spit for points. I'm already a 10. I spit for the ghettos, my mommies, my men. I spit in order to find a means to justify this bitter end. I spit because I don't have much more than my word to lend. I spit because sometimes these poems, they work better than friends. I spit fire, and that is to never be questioned. See, I'm a ghetto hood, rich street chick who likes to spit poetic shit. Fuck love and hugs, I rhyme about street corners and thugs. Metaphors are cute, but I like to get straight to the hood. My hood people expect this, and I hate to disappoint. So don't like my poetry nor my attitude, cause I couldn't care less. The blocks know my talk is ghetto prowess. Street educated, and I don't care what people think. This is me, who I am. T to the R, to the U, to the E.
True.
Yes.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you.
Amazing, yet again. I love that.
Awesome. I love the hugs.
Oh, you're
all for
amazing. Before we go, Climbing Ivy Project, tell me about it.
Yes, so the Climbing Ivy Project is a women's mentorship program where we're looking to give young women the tools and strategies that they need to overcome obstacles and live in their highest possibility. One of the components.
It's a not-for-profit right here in Queens.
It is a not-for-profit based here in Jamaica, Queens, which is awesome because I'm a Queens girl all the way.
Yeah.
And the hope is to take our girls and actually allow them to go off into the world, travel different countries before starting college.
And so if girls want to get into this program, what should they do?
Well, they should definitely go to the website, theclimbingivyproject.org.
theclimbingivyproject.org.
Yes, theclimbingivyproject.org. Can't say that enough. And you'll see the applications there.
Right.
To submit the application.
And when is the jump off?
The launch party and the book release is happening on June 21st at the Flux Factory Gallery out here in Astoria. And it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, so that's your second book. Give us the name again.
It's called Climbing Ivy.
And it's the Climbing Ivy Project.
Yes, it is.
And the email address is?
The Climbing Ivy Project at gmail.com. It's a lot. The Climbing Ivy Project at gmail.com.
So we're going to look for you. We're going to look for the Climbing Ivy Project.
Yes.
And we're going to find you on Facebook, the Climbing Ivy Project too.
Yes.
We're going to follow you there, and we're going to look for all the great work that you're going to be doing
Hopefully
in Jamaica,
you won't
Queens,
have to look too hard
and all
because I'll
over
be
the world.
everywhere.
Yeah. All right. I want you to talk us out. This next poem.
Yes.
The Climbing Ivy.
So this is Climbing Ivy.
All right.
This is the catalyst for everything I'm doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Communication Corner. I'm your host, Gail Lewis. Email me, newday2010@yahoo.com, and listen to the poet, True. This is Climbing Ivy.
That rose that grew from concrete. See me? I was more like the ivy growing on the sides of brick buildings, trading wisdom with the God strength building. Weaving in and out the brick facade, it teems with secrets. Though my roots seem shallow, I keep seeping through the chips to take hold. Beyond bold, I hang on in the toughest cold. As the wind blows on, I peep through cracks like thongs. I sail these walls like songs. My foundation has been tried and tested. There's no getting the best of me. No, I never knew that rose. Was never given in an instance of love. No friendship ever crossed me. Would not allow them to cut me off at the root to admire me for my beauty, so I'd hide my scarlet disease in my veins and force you to worship me for my strength. I won't allow your fantasies to hold me down. Not caught up in the fashion of living that's too limiting. Refuse to choose a path, see, I'd rather branch out. I mean, why grows towards the sky when I can go side to side and embrace the many corners of my domain? Rose is a lame, fighting hard to get trampled and tied up in a bouquet. No, that ain't for me. You could keep them streets. I'ma climb up this hill like scaffolding. My purpose is much greater than just decorating. I got my start in the crack and I won't turn back. Shade doesn't fade me. Couldn't care much for the shine. Go ahead, let it rain. I'll find shelter under the lips of gutters and concrete. Watch me flutter in the wind. It whistles as it passes me by. I'm spread eagle sexy. Wind down slow and drop. Now let me see rose grow and do that. Like growing towards the sky is difficult. Growing into yourself is spiritual. I leave that prim and proper shit for other individuals. I don't need seeds. Where I touch, their life breathes. I could care less about your attention or your affection. My intention is to reach the top first. My only thirst is for survival. So I continue to climb these walls like tribal art on Samoan extremities. I am complex. I have no time for complacency. Poor Rose. To break through concrete, to be burdened by expectations. I will not allow my limitations make themselves known to me. I want to grow more than just up. You watch her stand as I walk, forge new paths as she grows stalks. Be admired on a table as I grow into art. No, I never knew that rose that grew from concrete. I was too busy getting over these walls. I never knew that rose that grew from concrete. See me? I was more like the ivy growing on the sides of brick buildings, treading wisdom with the God strength building. Weaving in and out the brick facade, it teems with secrets. Though my roots seem shallow, I keep seeping through the chips to take hold. Beyond bold, I hang on in the toughest cold as the wind blows on.